That's hilarious.
He was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "What is today?" He's like, "Monday." I was like, "What was yesterday? St. Patty's Day?" He's like, "Oh, I'll call you tomorrow."
Bruh.
It was pretty rough. Pretty rough. All right, everybody ready? We all good here? I think everybody's here. We're all here on time.
Yeah.
Actually started on time for once. All right, welcome to Give Me a Break. Today we are talking the Haiti crisis and the cannibal gangs led by the infamous leader Barbecue. What should we do about it? What is the problem with Haiti, and has the Biden administration done a good or bad job in regards to Haiti compared to other crises worldwide? But first, before we get into that, let's do some intros. Fairy Queen, you can start us off.
Hi, everybody. My name is Fairy Queen. You can find me at Fairy Queen's Cottage on YouTube and at Fairy_Queen on Twitter. Thank you, guys.
Leafy? Leafy?
Hey, yo, it's your boy Lethy Water Kai. Turn me up. You can find me in Twitch. You can find me on YouTube and just about anywhere else. And here enjoying myself with the homie Gibbs. And yeah, good to see you all.
All right. I'm Rampage Paul. I do some variety streaming, and you can find me on Twitch and Kick. So thank you for this, Gibbs. I appreciate it, brother.
Oh, thanks for joining us. Also, thanks so much for another raid. Let's go, Cellamy! Woo! Yeah! We got the British contingent in here. You Brits can hear some about. Well, I guess this is American politics. This is international politics. Haiti is in some dire straits. Talking about some wild stuff. So, yeah, let's go to new openings. What do y'all think we should do? Why don't we start? What do y'all think y'all's overall assessment of the situation is with regards to Haiti? What do you think should be done? Has it been handled well? Fairy Queen, we can just start in the same order as we just went.
Yeah. I think that the United States should intervene. I think that Vice President Kamala Harris's reiteration of United States support for multinational intervention is a good thing. And I think that we should step in. That's the short of it.
All right. Lauren? Leafy?
All right. So this issue pretty much, from my understanding of the main history of turmoil in Haiti, started with the French and the enslavement of people, which didn't end until like 1804. So France had their boot on Haiti's neck until 1804. By 1820, they had demanded a tax of $122 million or francs to be paid over 22 years. They continued to collect that and keep these people in poverty and screwed over until America took over that debt, and America maintained that debt until 1947, give or take. So America kept their boot on their neck from 1915 when the Marines decided to invade Haiti and take shit over and install a military and basically use Haiti as a piggy bank, and then decided to leave when things got murky. So at no point has Haiti been able to fix their own country. They've remained impoverished. Nobody's helping them. With what Joe Biden did of offering, what, $230 million to Haiti, doesn't even come close to what we've already taken from Haiti. So I think there is a severe need for America to come in and actually do some goodwill work in Haiti to make this a place where gangs are not going to want to take over and the people feel like they have some means of a bright future.
I think Haiti, it's funny, I didn't know much going into it until I got invited on the panel. I've done a little bit of the research here, but it looks like Haiti has just been actually throughout history has been just a terrible, fortunate events across the entire board, all the way back to obviously the president's assassination in 2021, which made the gangs go crazy there recently, which is what we're seeing now, all the way to the earthquake, to unfortunately aid getting stolen by the gangs and corrupt politicians, all the way back to what you were saying, Lethy, till France. I mean, what the France did compared to what Spain did in the Dominican Republic on the same island, it was like night and day different how much worse Haiti was and how much they were literally it's a literal slave state when France was there. What solutions now and what we should do, I do think that in general, it seems like a lot of places are hesitant to really give more aid in general. 90% of the country is controlled by gangs at the moment. There's piracy going on where they're literally taking aid ships and then stealing it and then giving it to and then selling money off of it. So I don't really know what the solution is going to be. I was reading something about how Kenya is going to probably put boots on the ground there and really try to take away or try to dismantle the gangs. It's good. It's Haiti's fucked, and it has been since day one. On a serious note, like this is more than just what could we do right now. It needs to be establishing what we need to do. And also, they're pretty it seems like they want to be democratic there, funny enough. Like the reason why the other president got assassinated, to my understanding at least, well, there's a few conspiracies. We don't really know exactly what happened with the president, but he's kept delaying. He got democratically elected, and then he kept getting delayed, and then he put in a new prime minister. And then the conspiracy theory is just 2 days after he was prime minister, that guy ended up getting him assassinated. So he can remain power. Now he's delaying elections, and that's what we're seeing with the gangs right now because he keeps getting delaying elections. So, I would love to hear what you guys think that we should do because Hades is fucked. It really is.
Step one, it would be great for Florida to stop allowing guns to go to Haiti. America's not helping.
Agreed.
A couple points of order. Kenya is not sending the troops anymore. They said they're no longer going to send.
I was just reading today. I read an article like 4 days ago that came out. They're still planning on doing this.
6 days ago, they said with the removal of I just posted in my Discord a little bit ago. They said that they're not sending their 1,000 police officers to. Actually, this is really. We can start with this as a good talking point. So they're no longer sending the 1,000 police officers to Haiti. And part of the reason why is, and this has been a big debate, and it's the same debate we have in the U.S. over like the cartels and as opposed to like terrorists, is that they wanted to define. They were originally defining these as gangs, right? And they originally defining them as criminals, and they're saying now.
I just did. It looks like that the reason why they're doing that is because there has been like a diplomatic agreement between the two countries. But the problem is that the president, literally fled the country because he's not allowed back in from the gangs. Yeah. I'm sorry, Lord.
The Montana Accords or whatever.
Yeah.
So now you have Americans and Americans that want to leave the country and are begging for aid. So we have U.S. citizens. We should be protecting U.S. citizens, even in Haiti. We have enough. We've already done enough to Haiti to where we at least owe them having some sort of military presence to quell the gangs and try to get some level of order going on there. We've done this in many other countries before.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I'm pretty sure we have like sent out. I'm pretty sure there was even a direct thing from the president of the United States and our government saying like, here is a hotline, and if you are stuck in Haiti and you're a U.S. citizen, you go to this right now, and we will fucking get you out of there. Basically, is what it sounded like to me, or give you plans how you can get out of there. So we already are doing that. It's just there's going to be some people that I don't know, don't want to leave or can't leave, and they just.
I'm going to go with the can't leave portion of it because you literally have the it's like a paramilitary group that is breaking people out of prison, and they've also allied with the gangs in the area to take over large swaths of land in Haiti. So trying to get anywhere is really not a possibility. Trying to protect yourself is not an answer. And they are already armed by guns they got from a U.S. red state. They're doing brilliantly.
All right. Lauren, what were you saying?
I I don't. It's just so hard because based off past experience of the United States going in and trying to choose one side or the other, especially with supplying them with weapons, we usually find that our weapons end up being turned against our own allies or against our own troops, and so it's
Too late.
yeah, right, right. So I simultaneously a I don't know if a non-action response is the correct response. I either providing money and weapons. Did I cut out?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
there you go. You're back.
You're
Okay.
frozen.
Yeah, sorry. There's only really two
There you
options.
go.
You could either supply money and weapons, or you can not supply. Like those are the only two options, or like troops on the ground. But then again, Afghanistan, we saw what happened when there was some sort of power vacuum, and we come in and we try to fix the issue. There's no pullout because once we come in, then we have to kind of establish some sort of a new pseudo government for them. It's not their own government created by their own people. And so then there's no allegiance to it. So then they can't build a military, which means our military needs to stay there and kind of remain in power, but nobody wants that. And so eventually it's a pull out, and that creates even worse issues. I think we've already caused enough damage as it is. I don't think that we should just keep poking at the issue.
Another thing too, on top of that, we've done what Lauren or what Letha you were saying before in the past. We have put boots on the ground there. We have tried to like establish a government. Every time we have established a government, or at least put someone in power there, they either get thrown out or gangs take over again. Because again, like I was saying in the beginning, it seems like these people do want to be democratic. They just go at it a completely different fucking way, you know. And also, we have to be honest with each other here. Biden supporter, Trump supporter, any supporter, another reason why you don't want to put boots on, or another reason why the administration doesn't want to put boots on the ground is it's election year. It's a very bad thing that people are going to run on. Oh, look at Biden got us into another war. We now actually have boots on the ground. And that is another reason why we probably won't see that type of intervention, at least this year. We have to be honest with each other about that too.
Yeah, I see that being the truth, but in
shitty.
reality, we went in 1915. We basically took over the whole country. We installed this thing called the Caicos, which was that became the Haitian military. We didn't leave until 1934. We installed full military and set up government in that country, and then left once we set up a line to continue taking resources from that country. So I don't see why we can't do something similar again. And actually, without looking for something to gain in the long run, since we've already taken enough, actually help them get a democratic government started.
Well, and I know the one thing too with the prime minister or president, whatever you want to call him right now, that literally is living in Puerto Rico because he literally tried. I'm pretty sure he tried to like a couple months back or even a month back, whatever. I don't remember the exact date. Literally tried to fly back into Haiti, and the gangs literally destroyed the airport, so he couldn't fucking come back. And so he had to literally retract and go. And now he's living in Puerto Rico at the moment. And he said, which this guy's corrupt, probably. I mean, a lot of people think that he actually set up the assassination of the old president in 2021. And he basically said, if you guys get my country under control and bring people in and control this gang violence, I will have elections.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, Paul, because
Sure.
you've mentioned a few times that you think that they want to be democratic, right? And I've
Yes.
made the argument in regards to Afghanistan several times that it doesn't seem like they wanted at least our brand of democracy. And I think you've kind of alluded to like maybe what being a different brand, right? But as far as
Mhm.
I'm aware, and in my vast research on Haiti, the only time that Haiti's had a and this is going to be kind of a controversial statement, but has had a significant period of stable government is when they had somebody similar to Saddam, but more insane, which is Papa Doc and Baby Doc as their presidents. And this guy was over here, talking to the what is it, the Loa. He's over here talking to like the Papa Lengua and like in bathtubs holding the heads of his like political opponents. Crazy dude. But he was
Yeah.
violent enough that he like was able to, keep people under control. So to me, that doesn't indicate that like they want a democracy, and especially with this continued sort of violence. What is indicating to you that they want a
Well,
democracy?
So to my understanding, the reason why this gang violence has gotten really bad recently, again, not obviously, obviously because of the assassination of the president, they installed the prime minister at that time, and now he's like the sitting president there, or I guess he's technically said he's going to resign once, whatever. But
No,
the
didn't
reason
Henry
why
resign
all
already?
this violence.
Hold on. Can we use names?
Well,
Because
no,
Henry
he said
resigned.
no. He said no. He said that he will resign when we get the country under control, and then he'll hold elections. So he's basically said, I have resigned, but we don't have a country to hold elections, so I can't let my country hold an election.
Well,
Is
that's part of the
basically what he
reason
was
Kenya
saying.
said they're not sending they're sending the people is because they said they had an agreement with that prime minister, and now they don't, and because he's
Yeah.
resigned. So
Yeah,
I don't.
and again, to answer your question though, Gibbs, really quick. To my understanding, this recent crazy outbreaks with gangs and stuff is because he delayed elections again until 2025, and then that's when the whole fucking country just went crazy. So this is why I'm saying they may elect a gang leader. For all I know, they very well might, but it sounds like they do want to actually hold elections, and everything keeps getting delayed because all of their politicians are super corrupt as well, and they just want change, even if that's going to be a gang leader or someone that's actually going to be an effective diplomat for their country. That's
Yeah.
it's my reasoning for it, because every time there is always a delay in elections, someone gets fucking killed or fucking riots happen and people die.
So yeah, that's crazy. I mean, so okay, all right. Let me ask this: Who? So y'all mentioned U.S. intervention. All right, who here is advocating that we put like boots on the ground, or do y'all prefer our current system? Y'all want boots on the ground, or do y'all think Biden's response has gone far enough with it, like with just sending aid to the UN for the specific
Totally.
purpose of Haiti, or do y'all want more boots on the ground or less intervention?
He probably went too far.
You think we went too far
Yeah, like I
with what
don't.
we've done already?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's like it seems like it would be helpful. It seems like it would be beneficial, but in the end, it's not. A lot of the things we do, like the road to hell is paved with good intentions, like sending money and aid. Okay, so we're just sending money for more people to fight over. It's not like it's actually helping humanitarian causes. In fact, a huge part of this power struggle in the first place, is over the 2010 earthquake relief funds.
Mm-hmm.
So sending more money isn't going to help. In fact, it's going to make things
Well, we
worse.
shouldn't send money. We should probably be trying to at least send humanitarian aid, like food, drinking water. I think it's something like 48% of Haitians don't even have electricity. So I mean, we do need to probably do something to that realm. But I agree with, funny enough, and this is going to be weird to say, but I don't know if putting our boots on the ground is actually a smart thing. I think we should try to pressure people like Kenya or other countries where we can help. I'm pretty sure we were going to give like $100 million to their military to be able to put their boots on the ground to try to get this shit taken under control. Can we trust Kenya? I don't know enough about Kenya. I'm not sure, but it
Can
seems
I
like
ask?
they're okay.
Can I ask a question? Like, why do you think the United States should pressure another country to put their boots on the ground as opposed to us taking the initiative and doing it?
To be honest with you, this is probably PTSD from the Afghanistan-Iraq war, to be honest with you, for me at least. And I'm like, to put it in perspective, I'm like pro like giving like Ukraine aid, but there's no American boots on the ground there. I think that America does try to get involved too much by putting their boots on the ground, which, don't get me wrong, there are times and in history where we have seen that it has been a good thing. Look at Japan nowadays, right? When we had to go to World War with them, right? But I think that when you have another country, which, by the way, we're not pressuring Kenya, we have offered, or Kenya has offered, because no one else was stepping up to the plate, because the Biden administration, I think, specifically said that he didn't want to put boots on the ground there. And they basically said, hey, we'll do it. And Biden said, okay, I'll give you $100 million for your troops to go there. And if they can get it under control, because 1,000 trained militia compared to just like random gangs would probably be super effective. I don't know how effective. Haiti is just an absolute it's a terrible place. And I don't know if like putting boots on the ground in general is, and I don't even know, do Americans even agree with this? Like in general, like we should probably like also like take a poll of that. Like, is it a popular thing to say, you know what, we're going to go into Haiti and like destroy their gangs and try to reestablish their government? I don't know.
I mean, well, somebody's got to send some sort of boots, right? Like, I think at this point,
Seems like
as
that's
of
the case. Yes.
as of today, it
Mhm.
looks like they're reporting that they control like 80% of the capital and then most of the country now. These gangs, right? Is like what I think I was sharing earlier. So for the ones that do want to put boots on the ground, why do y'all think that the response hasn't been of why should we be the ones leading in this regard?
I would say for two reasons. So I hear what Paul's saying and what Lauren is saying. Um, what I would say to you is a couple of things. Like number one, right? The question then becomes like, would Kenya or another country be better? Would they be more effective in sending troops? Like
Sure.
I would agree with you that the United States does have a history of fumbling the bag, like when becoming involved, like with other countries. But the alternative is that you leave that up to a different country to handle. And the question is like, why, like, who will like shoulder that burden and why should they shoulder that burden? And I would say that if we have our citizens who are located in Haiti, and if we are responsible in part for the trials and errors that like Haiti has suffered, that we have a responsibility to put our to because of the fact that we have fumbled the bag in the past with Haiti. It's our responsibility for us to make up for our own mistakes. It's only that much bit larger of a reason for us to send troops. The fact that we fumbled the bag is the reason for us to do it. Because if we don't do it, then someone else will have to do it.
Okay,
And I don't know why we would trust like the judgment of Kenya as opposed to that of the United States.
but quick question: um, what if how do I phrase this? Yeah, what if sending troops makes the situation a lot worse? So, like, let's say, like, as an analogy, let's say you harm your leg and it gets infected, and you're like, oh, that's my fault. I infected it. And then you poke at it and it gets even more infected. And then you're like, you know what? It's my responsibility to fix this. It's no one else's responsibility. So then you just keep poking at it more. It's like, okay, well, yeah, you made it worse, but continuing on what you're doing, it's kind of like the gambler's paradox.
I understand what you're saying, but I would change it slightly. So imagine, and I would change the analogy slightly. I don't think it's quite analogous. I think it would be more similar to, like, let's supposing like your friend, okay, you play like baseball, like, or maybe you do yoga, you do some sort of physical activity with your friend, okay, and you and your friend, you and your buddy, okay, you get into all sorts of trouble, okay? You've broken bones together, you've fallen out of trees together, okay? Maybe you like box in the backyard and maybe you've like accidentally hit him in the eye, maybe you've accidentally hit him in the chest, right? This is something that
Okay.
you've done together for a long time, right? You're responsible. And you've tried to help him before in the past, right? But you're terrible at it. You've mishandled the band-aid. You weren't great at like trying to find help for him in the past. But now, one day, you're outside and you're pretend boxing. And instead of you just accidentally bruising him in the shoulder or knocking the wind out of him, you accidentally punch him so hard in the face, okay, that like he actually passes out. And you're
Mhm.
worried that like if you don't do something right now, that your friend might actually die in the backyard. Now, you have a couple of options, okay? You're the only person, you are the person probably who has the most resources, who is the most capable. Everyone else around you is either you have your elderly grandmother over here, you have a 5-year-old kid over here, you have ton of people who ostensibly they could help, but they're less likely to know what to do. So like even though so that and that's sort of the issue that I have with it, because I don't disagree with you, right? That maybe we will wind up poking the wound over and over again. But the problem is if we aren't the ones that do it, you're going to wind up like handing the bag to somebody else who probably is less capable of handling it in the first place.
Here's how I see that exact analogy. So you knock your friend out, and now you go to try to help your friend. You pick him up, you break his neck. You get what I'm saying? Like you actually cause way more damage by trying to help him. And if you had just left him be, maybe nobody around you helps. Your grandma doesn't help. The 5-year-old doesn't help. But then he like wakes up, he recovers, he takes care of himself eventually, and you kind of get hands off. And maybe
Well,
not.
I don't know though.
Maybe he struggles.
But
Maybe
maybe
he
not.
has a debilitating. But either way, you know that you interventing is going to cause even more damage.
Well, I wouldn't disagree. So that we could go off the analogy. You probably is your responsibility because you know how much you've sucked at it to pick up the phone and to call and for backup. but you can't wait. But the problem is if you wait for the 30 or 45 minutes for the ambulance to come to pack this guy up and to bring him to the hospital, in that 45 minutes, your friend could die. Your friend could bleed out. You have to perform first aid. You have to do it now, because if you don't, you still should call the ambulance. You should still call for backup for people who probably are more well suited to help you. But until that happens, you have to be the one to help that person. Because if you don't, A, you're the most qualified to do it. Even everybody else around you doesn't have the resources to do it. And secondly, it's your responsibility. You punch this guy in the face. It's your job it's your responsibility to fix it.
Right. But I think you keep missing the point that like, even though it's your responsibility and no one else can help, and like the guy is going to die, very likely going to die and has bad injuries, every time you try to help, you just make the situation significantly worse. So like,
I don't disagree, but that's why you call the ambulance to come later. You have to perform first aid in this instance.
In our analogy, there is no ambulance. Like United States is supposed to be the ambulance, and we just suck at it. Like every time we go into another country trying to help
the UN is the ambulance here.
Well, let me ask this, Letha. You also said you wanted to put boots on the ground. Why do you think we should?
Yes. Okay. So we keep bringing up other countries that we're aiding. So let's talk about Ukraine. Let's talk about Haiti. How much money do you think Ukraine has afforded the U.S. in trade in 2022?
I have no idea.
$998 million.
Okay.
How much do you think Haiti has exported to the U.S. in 2022? $1.8 billion. So apparently Haiti is worth more monetarily than freaking Ukraine is. We are their 80%, we are their trade partner. All the cheap goods we want to keep getting from China that we're not going to get anymore, we can get from Haiti, which I don't think is great either, but it's kind of a starting point. So this has been one of our greatest trading partners. We've been one of the ones that fucked them over the hardest, especially after the debt from their own slavery. Why should we not be there to help them in this time of need to establish themselves as a country and a trading partner as we're trying to divest ourselves away from China?
That's
wait,
a good question.
They did. Wait, I'm sorry. I'm actually. Hold on. So wait, they've traded. They've done that much export from their country to our country
in 2022 alone.
That's wild.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you want to post that somewhere.
What do they trade to us?
T-shirts, cocoa. Let's see.
Bananas, cocos, and mangoes.
So clothing, scrap metal, vegetable oils, dates, and cocoa. And cocoa is extremely expensive.
Coffee. I know they got coffee.
So it was 474 million in knit T-shirts, 206 million in sweaters, 95.3 million in knit women's suits. So just in knit women's suits is nearly the same as all that Ukraine brought in.
Okay, but we can probably look at this kind of a little differently. The reason why we probably are the biggest trading partner with Haiti is probably just geographically, correct?
Absolutely not.
You don't think it's just because of geographic?
Well, even if it was geographic, why would that matter to you? Let me ask you.
Because if Ukraine, okay, so like if we want to make a comparison between Ukraine and Haiti, Ukraine may only trade to us what Letha was saying. I forget the number he said. 900, 800 million. What'd you say? I forget exactly to us. But they also might have a representation of exports to all countries around them, 100 times.
Sure. Let me phrase it to you differently, Paul. Let me phrase that to you differently. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, all right, this might show my bias on the issue a little bit, but in regards to this, right? Ukraine is very far away geographically from us, right? And I get the whole Russia's an adversarial power, right? However, we've used the argument to invade countries several times that, oh, this is a falling apart, it's a failing state. We don't want this to become like, as Trump put it, a shithole country where it's going to like foster terrorism. This is a geographically nearby country that's turning into a failed state, right? Or it has been maybe arguably for a while, but it's getting significantly worse, that we trade with very regularly. Why wouldn't that incentivize you to jump in, even militarily, if we're not afraid, if we wouldn't be afraid of like, the bad guys getting power and like making this a place for a haven for terrorism? Why would you not see that as a applicable argument as opposed to like the Russia-Ukraine kind of thing?
Again, I think that Ukraine okay, so there's a few things happening here. Ukraine actually has at least been trying to establish a democratic state in the last X amount of years, right? I don't think we've seen that with Haiti. Also, on top of that, again, I do want to say Ukraine as a trading partner with the United States might not be as best. By the way, I looked it up. It says 1.5 billion in 2022. So I'm not sure if Lethe has wrong numbers or maybe I'm reading wrong. I'm not sure. To the United States exports from Ukraine. So it actually is more than Haiti's. But you have to remember that Ukraine in that region is much more geographically important when it comes to trade in general to the entire world. And again, I'm not excusing Hades, and I don't know if we should really put boots on the ground. It's really fuck there, guys. I mean, we all know that, but like, I really don't know if that's like the best plan of attack. But I think comparing the two Ukraine to Hades is probably something we probably should separate, to be honest, even when it comes to aid as well.
I'm saying we've done this so far, and I was comparing on that, and I was talking by 2022 numbers. Their trade did go up. Ukraine's trade went up to 1.34 billion in 2023. So I was talking when the Ukraine war started, Haiti was exporting more to the U.S. than Ukraine was.
And that was
so if you're talking about a
when did it
strategic reason to help and send aid, go ahead. What did you say?
To get the export. No, I was going to say that was in 2021 with you when Russia came in, right? Was it 2021 or 2022? I forget.
I believe it was
Fucking
2021.
Everything's getting blended nowadays. Also, that was also funny enough. That was when the president of Haiti was still alive as well. So yeah, maybe there is an argument to make here that if we do try to make them actually have a established government again, we should with us being able to export goods for a cheaper cost to Americans that makes economical sense. Maybe there should be. And I don't know. I think that depending on how much longer this goes, it wouldn't surprise me if there is more international talk. But the issue is right now we got Ukraine and Russia and Israel, Palestine. So I think Haiti, unfortunately, is getting overlooked, which isn't good because they're right up there with everything that's happening across with those two other, conflicts.
But the difference here is you have a disorganized group, paramilitary group working with gangs, basically riding around in motorcycles through the city. Do you think we couldn't handle something like that fairly easily compared to dealing with Russia or dealing with what's going on in Israel or dealing with what we went through in the Afghanistan war?
I don't think that it would be as difficult. You think? I do think that we would see some lives lost, though, for sure.
I just don't know how it's not nearly identical to the Afghanistan war, where you're literally talking about going in, helping them set up essentially a prop government, and then attempting to pull out later.
Okay, one thing I can tell you that makes a huge difference is we did not train them to make IEDs and other military actions along the way. We did not train them.
Also, another thing too, like scrap metal and like t-shirts and stuff like that. I hate to say this, but like, yeah, we did get some export value from them. I'm sorry, import value from them, exports from them. But like we can get that other places too, right? I mean, that's like another thing that's probably they're looking at as well, which is a shitty thing to say, but it's probably true. We can get scrap metal.
So that's fair. Okay, fine. If you don't think that Ukraine is a applicable situation, then why don't we compare?
I don't think we should separate the two.
Okay, that's fine. Let's pick a much more current and well, not much more current, similarly current issue, similar place. You brought up Israel, Palestine. Palestine's got even less economic value or geographical value to the United States than either one. But we're willing to give aid to Palestine. We're willing to give aid to Israel for their fight. What do you what kind of argument do you make against that?
Well,
they're very similar situations in that regard.
Israel aid majority of the time is weapons. Also on top of that, we are trying to give Gaza aid, and we are trying to do a lot. I mean, we're literally trying to build a dock off of Gaza to try to give them humanitarian aid right now. So we are trying to do there. We are giving Haiti's aid too as well. We are. I mean, we can look at it right now. I don't remember the number off the top of my head. How much aid have we given them since the beginning?
Hold up. The U.S. trade surplus with Haiti is $358 million in 2022, whereas the trade deficit with Ukraine is $69 million.
Yeah.
Again, we would have to look at what the numbers are and everything. And in 2022, that if that was when actually Ukraine, Russia started, yeah, we gave them a fuck ton of money, and we do have a negative thing to them because we gave them a fuck ton of aid, right? How much aid did U.S. give Haiti? I'm just curious about this number. I forget what it is.
Well, it was like 230 million in this new package that's going down, but I really don't see where money in itself is going to fix the problem, especially when you have basically a paramilitary group running the country. So in
Yes.
reality, you need to do something to stabilize the region. And I would say boots on the ground, whatever the case may be, figure out something to corral the gang violence that's going on, because they're not centralized, they're not organized. It's just people they're busting out of jail.
I agree with you.
To Leafy's
There needs
point,
to be something that needs to happen.
I want to mention this. This is kind of interesting. Royal Caribbean owns part of Haiti, right? And they are still sending cruises to Haiti. And the reason why is because they built a giant wall and they hired private security, and they're making a lot of money for the people in the region. So with that being said, clearly, if a private security force is able to at least keep an area secure, I think that leads some credence to what Leafy's saying, with like the ability to have troops enforce their will, as opposed to, like, do you think Royal Caribbean can own part of Gaza and keep that area safe? Probably not, right? Like, do you think that there's any credence to that argument?
Yeah, of course. I mean, look at the Dominican. I mean, let's look at the same island. Look at the Dominican Republic compared to Haiti's. The Dominican Republic's GDP for tourism is like 13%. Okay. That is a big chunk of change for a GDP island like that. If you can increase Haiti's GDP by that amount of money, and there's a whole other issues. Again, we brought up the electricity, the running water that Haiti still doesn't have. Haiti's needs a lot of work. Which I don't know. The gang violence and the separation of gangs and state there at the moment needs to stop. And there needs to be somebody to step up to do it, because the gangs are it looks like the gangs are going to win. They own isn't it something they have like 90% of the entire capital? I mean,
Yep.
I mean, like the gangs won the war. Unless we're going to see some David and Goliath shit. But I would assume the other 10% that's reported on are probably also working with the gang so they don't get fucking murdered.
So if you don't think it's us, who should do it then?
Again, I think that if Kenya came up and stepped up and said, hey, we can do it. We can put 1,000 boots on the ground. We just need to get funding for it. And we say, oh, it's $100 million. What's a fucking $100 million in the United States of America? Literally. That's like me like getting a 25-cent gumball when I'm at the the mall or something. And they're like willing to do this. And I was looking it up, by the way. I mean, Kenya is not the greatest military, but Kenya is a pretty good military. I was looking it up when we were talking about it. It's something like the 47th or 50 something considered the most disciplined, best military in the world. So yes, they are not going to do as good as the United States of America. But we also, again, could help, or we can also help Haiti by not putting our citizens' boots on the ground and our military boots on the ground. And if they do disrupt it to the point where they can establish a better government, or at least let the cops and the government establish, or at least take the upper hand, that's a good starting point. Let's agree with a good starting point. And if we need to come in later when it's all kind of getting cleared up, I understand that too.
Very Queen?
So this is just a question. I don't know the answer. Does Kenya have a history of intervening in situations like this? Is there a historical precedent for them?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm really genuinely asking this.
Not
And
I don't know.
okay.
But what I can say is, at this point, if they're able to establish themselves in Haiti, already seeing that they can get weaponry from the US, seeing as they've already been armed with guns from Florida, what's to keep them from establishing enough military power and organizing themselves enough to attack the Dominican Republic or anything else that the US may want to keep intact?
That's another aspect to this question that I think is important to think about too, right? I mean, if we go back to the analogy, it's not just about the protecting Haiti, it's about protecting the Dominican Republic. This is something that like the president of the Dominican Republic directly said, right? Like,
well, that's interesting you bring that up. That's a great segue into what my next topic on
Got
this.
you covered, Gibbs.
Thank you. Perfect with that. So the Dominican Republic has taken a very, very hard line stance against Haiti on certain issues. One of them, they are very active in deporting people, and they built a border wall. And Southern Republicans have been pointing to this and saying, border walls work. Look at the Dominican Republic. Look how they've stopped the violence and stopped the gangs from reaching over here into the Dominican Republic. So, are y'all in favor of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, doing this in this situation? What do y'all have to say about that sort of thing?
Can you repeat the
Oh, I'm
question?
going to say it works for them. They have
Should
a 100-mile wall. Big whoop. We have how many miles of wall? 16,000 miles we need of wall. Wall ain't gonna work for the U.S., but for Dominican Republic, 100 miles is not that hard to police with drones and other materials.
To be fair, so my question is,
have you
they
heard
are
of the wall with China? It's like a long ass
So
wall
the-
as well. And it also had the
So
same.
the
It didn't work on Mongolia.
Well, to be fair, there's a bunch of different walls that built into one big one. But the U.S. has been advocating with Canada for the Dominican Republic to allow all Haitians in as asylum seekers. That sounds very familiar to something happening here. So I just find the parallels that are happening very similar. And it's kind of ironic to me that we're telling other countries to handle this a certain way, and they have a system they seem to think is working. Do y'all think that the Dominican Republic is making the right call in this regards, or what do y'all think along those lines?
I actually completely ditto what Lethe has to say. Like, I mean, we can talk about the wall we want, like in America, but I personally think that we've had a debate about this, Gibbs. I really think the reason why immigration is so bad is because we actually need to fix the immigration law, not build a wall. We can build a wall in the same time. I mean, I'm fine with if there was funding for a wall and we started building a wall, go for it. I'm fine with that. I just don't think that would actually solve our problem personally. It probably does solve their problem though. And also on
for now,
what's really crazy, for now, sure. There's going to be probably workarounds. I'm sure there is going to be, but also, oh, what was the second point? Oh, fuck.
The deportations.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So for people trying to seek asylum, we can probably all admit, I think you can admit here too, Gibbs, is that there's probably an actual serious fucking asylum issue in Haiti at the moment. And I will agree with you as well that probably in general, some people that are actually seeking asylum at our border are actually just trying to get into our country and or they just want to leave for financial, economical reasons. But there's like some like war driven poverty, don't have water, dying of shit that's happening in Haiti, where we should probably try to at least help these people for asylum.
Wait, for asylum? Wait, what's the asylum reason?
I don't want to die.
In Haiti?
That's not a reason for
Haiti?
okay,
Yeah.
poverty is not a reason for asylum. What's the legal?
Would you say that
gang war?
There's literally a gang war.
So Lauren, I agree. I know that you and I agree, Lauren, on asylum seekers here in the United States. But let me ask you this, Lauren. So, like, just to play devil's advocate, would you say that cannibal gangs, and this is like a legit thing that's going on here, are a good reason? Say it's like you're actively worried that you're going to be eaten by a group of people is a reason to seek asylum, as opposed to like, oh, I'm in poverty in Guatemala and I don't like the cartels, so I want to leave. Do you think there's a difference there?
First of all, I've been trying to look into the actual legitimacy of the cannibalism. I haven't been finding a lot of strong evidence.
How many cannibals is enough?
Well, why don't you just show me proof of one, and then we could start from there. Anyway, I looked into it a lot before this debate, and I couldn't find like any legitimacy to the cannibal situation. Second of all, asylum is meant if you are being like politically persecuted for like there was some specific hold on, asylum US law. We talked about this last. You have to be persecuted for specific reasons: race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. So I don't understand how your country is war torn. Okay, that's awful. And I feel sorry, but I don't understand how that is a legitimate asylum reason.
Well, because the gangs are literally the last point you put there, politically prosecuted. Gangs are literally going around in their country and killing people that aren't agreeing with what the gangs want to do. That is a political prosecution. And also on top of that, just to put it in perspective, I live in Chicago. And if you include the greater metro area of Chicago, so like the suburbs surrounding it, plus Chicago itself, it's around 9 million people. Hades has like 12 million roughly. It's like 11.5. In Chicago last year, we had like 600 murders. Okay. In Hades last year, there was 7,000. So there's people talk about Chicago being violent. This is like a whole nother topic. And also the majority of those murders in Chicago, by the way, are probably the smaller ones, which is like 2 million. And it's like, it's terrible. And I do think that there's probably legit reasons to take in some of these people. And I don't want to say,
Yeah, I would say the
I don't
ones that
know,
are
is there
being
a thing-
like, if they're being killed for not going along with political opinion, which does seem like a lot of it. It does seem like these gangs are trying to, get get control over the political situation, even though there's not really a government anymore. But to say that everyone who's in a war, the way the question was phrased originally, I wouldn't say that anyone deserves asylum just because they're from a war-torn area.
Yeah, I don't know if this is really
So
considered
what gets you asylum? Like, what in your opinion
So once
is
again,
a bar for
if
asylum?
you have suffered persecution or fear that they will suffer persecution due to race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion. So political opinion was a good point that was brought up. So like these, okay, so
Well, so I guess let me ask you this. Let me change my question. Right. So we're advocating to Haiti right
Mhm.
now that they should stop deporting people back from Haiti. Not Haiti. We're advocating to us in Canada have both called it the Dominican Republic as of like yesterday. As from what I read, and told them they should stop deporting people back to Haiti, and they should allow people the mass influx into their country, and that they should allow these people in under asylum. Right now, I don't know what their asylum laws are. I know what ours are. Right? Do you think that they should be doing that? Like that, like they should be allowing these people since they're basically in the middle of a civil war. Like,
yeah, see, that's
which I
the
think is
thing. That's the thing. I think the purpose of asylum law is like, let's say that you're a political leader and then you get kind of like ran out of your country for political reasons, or or like you're a Jew during the Holocaust. I think these are reasons that people seek asylum. Like they're actually being persecuted. But this is really it's a war-torn country. So are you saying everyone in the country is being persecuted? Kind of, but that doesn't mean that it meets the standards for asylum. Asylum's meant for very specific kind of individual case by case basis. Every once in a while you get something quite hectic like a Holocaust. Like I would say pretty much all the Uyghurs in China would qualify for asylum, but I don't think that war-torn countries qualify for the specific reason that Admiral Gibbs brought up, because if it did, then entire populations of people would be moving from one country to the next, thinking that they are entitled to entry and citizenship simply because their country was war-torn. And that would be quite hectic for every country in the world if that was how asylum works.
How about the rest of y'all? What do y'all think?
I've already said I think that there's an asylum issue. So I'm sorry, Ferry, you can go.
I just want to. Could you clarify the definition of like what qualifies as an asylum seeker, Lauren? Just one more time.
No.
Like, so
every
it's
year, people
nationality,
come to the
race, sex,
United
religion.
States seeking protection because they have suffered persecution or fear that they will suffer persecution due to race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. Those are it. That is the 5.
Okay. Can
Yeah.
I ask you? So suppose. So I'll just get like this is a historical example. So like when we dropped the atom bomb on Japan, for instance. So
Mhm.
suppose, for instance, there were many people so as a consequence of us dropping the bomb upon civilians, I'm sure it's very possible. So suppose there was somebody who came from Japan who wanted to seek asylum in the United States.
Mhm.
Do you think that we have any responsibility to accept asylum seekers from countries for whom the
Okay.
state of the country is in some way we're responsible for?
So
Do you
let's
see what I'm saying?
Would a Japanese person coming here coming to America be seeking asylum because they're persecuted due to race? Unlikely, because most people in Japan are Japanese. Maybe if this person wasn't Japanese, maybe. Religion, also unlikely, but if that's the case, if nationality,
Mhm.
also extremely unlikely, because once again, you're talking about a Japanese person in Japan. Membership of a
Mhm.
particular social group, I don't think.
What about someone
Radiation
seeking? What about
okay.
what about someone from North Korea? So what about somebody who's escaped North Korea and they want to seek asylum in the United States?
I do think that is political opinion persecution. I think that qualifies.
Is it though? Like they just don't like living. What if they don't? What if they agree with Kim Jong Un? Okay,
Then they
but
wouldn't
they
be
just
able
don't
to
want to
seek
live there
asylum
anymore.
here. Then no, they wouldn't qualify.
So, like, if somebody was trying to escape the regime of like Kim Jong Un in North Korea, and they agreed with some of his policies, but they disagree with some of it, and they're starving, and they want to go to a different country to find opportunities, and they wanted to seek asylum in the United States because of the fact that they. Do you think that like it has to be a complete buy-in in order for them to not qualify?
So hunger and poverty are not a reason for asylum. If they are being politically persecuted, like many people are in North Korea, and that's the reason that they have such a vice grip on the country. If they're being politically persecuted, then they can seek asylum. However, if they're just hungry, that is not a reason to seek asylum. Like this reminds me of a debate I had the other day where people were saying, "Well, don't you think that rape survivors deserve asylum?" And it's like, is that the definition of asylum? Of course, I don't want like. Of course, I'm not saying that they didn't go through something tragic or something horrible didn't happen to them, but that just because something happened to you doesn't mean that you deserve asylum.
No, I guess I'm sort of looping through like I don't think either of the examples that I've given are very good. What I'm not just saying that. I'm not saying that just anyone that has come from a terrible background should be allowed to seek asylum. What I'm saying is if the United States has meddled and fumbled the bag within the country and the country has become war torn as a consequence of our involvement, do we not owe it to the people within that country to grant them asylum
That's
because
not
we
the
fumbled the bag?
definition of asylum. Fumble bag
I I
is
understand.
not one of the listed reasons.
I understand that. I'm not really asking you a legal question. I'm really asking you a moral question. Do you think
I
we
hate when
morally
people
should allow
always
this?
do that to me. I'm always like, you asked me like the whole question of this premise was based off a legal premise. Does someone deserve asylum? Should we give asylum? This is very legal. I will attack that question with the legal knowledge and the legal ability that I have. But then you're like,
So
okay,
legally
well, let's
speaking,
just
when
take
a
the
gang or paramilitary group takes over an area, are they now the new political regime in the area?
um I wait. Can you repeat the question?
I'm saying if a paramilitary group and or marauders take over the area, are they now not the new political group in the area?
They might be a new political group in the area. What's your point?
I'm saying if the general populace does not agree with this paramilitary group that has taken over the area, that would be a political reason to leave for disagreement and persecution from these new political invaders.
If they're
Before you answer
being
that, that is a great segue into the next thing I want to bring up right
Hey,
here.
hey, hey, just setting them up.
He's 2 for 2 on these. So that's interesting. There's been a big issue with how this has been defined, right? Which is you brought up the gang as a political actor, and that's part of the reason for the legal aspect that Lauren keeps going back to, as far as I understand, on why it's not asylum, right? So a big issue. One of the reasons why the United States has said they don't want to get involved is how these are criminal gangs as opposed to like the cartels. They're criminal gangs. They're not what they're defining as like enemy combatants or like insurgents or whatever, or like terrorists, despite having a lot of similar tactics as these groups. Now, do you I'm going to ask this to y'all, or and Lauren, Lauren, you can answer this first. And I think there's a big reason why she's saying that it's not not an asylum is, do you think that definition matters? I know legally it does, right? And do y'all think it matters how we define these, because these are gangs and they're not technically political actors like in the usual traditional sense?
yeah,
Lauren,
I
you
think
can
that definitions absolutely matter. I mean, you have in order to determine anything now, like it's unfortunate, but we have to define words to make rules and to determine what people come into this country, because we have a system that allows a certain number of immigrants, a certain number of asylum seekers, a certain number of XYZ every year. So yes, definitions matter. I don't know. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, 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 that's fine. Yeah, the rest of y'all.
You know,
'Cause-
I'm not
because-
a lawyer. I'm not. I mean, lawyers speak and stuff like that. I think I would have to hedge with Lauren here, basically saying like, yeah, definitions definitely matter. And I hate to say that we should probably open up to be like a case by case basis because that sounds like a fucking nightmare. Um, um, but again, I think that if whoever wants to say if something is someone needs to be seeking for asylum or not asylum, I think they can look at Hades right now and basically say these people that are looking to seek for asylum absolutely are asylum seekers. However, the definition is, I do believe that last one, and also probably what was the fourth one again, Lauren?
Okay.
The fourth reason.
Yeah, so it's
Sorry.
race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, political opinion.
Okay, what about that one? What about that one right there? I think that it's probably in Haiti. That probably falls in as well because guess what? It's hey, there's a gun to my fucking head. Join the gang, do what we tell you to do, or we're gonna kill you and your entire family, which is probably what's happening over there. Do what we want. So there's probably number 4 and number 5 on this. That probably does fall into the asylum thing.
I don't believe so. Membership in a particular social group. That's usually like
Yeah, I think that I don't know that would fall into that category.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
That's
Lauren,
typically
I
like-
would hedge to you to know.
okay, imagine like being like a Proud Boy or Antifa or something like that.
Sure.
That would be like membership of a particular social group. And let's say one of those particular groups feels like they are being targeted by the government. And so a member from that group flees the country
I might
to another
actually-
group. That's what
I might
that's
actually
for.
disagree with. I might disagree with you on that definition. I've always understood a social group to be like you're like a Jew, or you're like
No, that's a
you're like
religion.
Well, the
black.
religion one was
That's a
already-
Yeah,
religion.
religious
that's the
or like
religion one.
or like okay, yeah, that's a religious. Okay, well, I mean, I meant like the ethnic group, not like
Sure.
That's a race.
you know, like
That's
okay,
the
well,
race,
never
yeah.
mind then. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
No. Again, when I come to group, I'm thinking, okay. Let me ask you this, Lauren: does a gang would be considered as a social group? I guess would be my
So
question.
I think that would be considered a terrorist group. So I don't think that it would qualify.
Mm.
Like there's certain,
Like
and also
would a
same with,
communist be a
same with
social group?
Antifa and same with Proud Boys. They're also qualified as like under U.S. law. I think they're extremist groups. So
Yeah, I think they're considered a gang.
right, I don't.
Very quick.
And
Well,
but
it's
however,
a
let's
paramilitary
say
group that has gangs under it and satellites.
right. So I think it's more for like, yeah, people who are members of more,
So let me reframe the question to the rest of y'all right here. So like, what do y'all think this is kind of maybe what I'm trying to get at. What do y'all think the difference between like a gang and like a political actor, like an enemy combatant would be? Like, what is the major difference that would distinguish like a Mexican cartel or the gangs in Haiti as opposed to like the terrorist groups like say Al Qaeda or like say like you know Hamas, who's like a quasi government? Like, because if you look at like Hamas, for example, Hamas has a very similar structure to some of the cartels in Mexico. Like some of these cartels control cities, right? They like basically run the government through like a shadow government. Hamas has like whatever, like where they're actually an elected government, or like ISIS, where ISIS created a quasi government in the area in the region. What do you think is like the big difference like in that? And do you think that difference like needs to be changed in regards to Haiti? Like, I'll start with you, Fairy Queen, if you want to go with that one.
So this is just a comment about war generally, and I'll have to find the article that states this. Let's see, history of world wars in the past 20 years. I think that most wars that have actually taken place in the past 20 years, if I'm not mistaken, most of them have actually been civil wars. Like the age, I mean, like it sounds weird to say considering the Russia-Ukraine war that has taken place in like Gaza versus Israel, but most wars that have typically taken place over the past 20 years have actually either been civil wars or they've been disputes between between the institution of the government and a paramilitary or a gang or like a group of insurgents or a terrorist organization. That seems to generally like to be the consistent theme of what war looks like in the 21st century. So And there are reasons for that, and one of the reasons is that if you have the United States actually going head to head with Russia, like obviously like you wind up with some explosive results. So what happens instead is that many of the wars that, like, at least my understanding, and I promise I can find you like the link that shows this, have either been proxy wars, civil wars, or they've been wars from like gangs or insurgents or terrorists or paramilitaries within the countries. So what that means is when there is a country that explodes with violence like this, many of the models that like we've been used to that we are used to dealing with like in these situations, I don't know if they're always. I don't know if they're effective as effective in the 21st century. Um,
Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
That
Mike,
sounds
so
right, by the way, Fairy Queen. Just throwing that out there. Majority of majority of wars. It sounds correct to me. I mean, that sounds right to me. I mean,
yeah.
how many major conflicts have we had? Two in the last
Yeah.
20 years, right? You know,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Leafy, do you have any thoughts on that? What do you think the difference is?
It's not really a huge difference. So like when you look at Mexico and you look at the cartel, and the cartel runs the police and they have their hands in the government, they are effectively the government. If you're in an area that's run by the cartel, you can't go to the police for help. You can't go to anybody else for help. So if your family is in danger and you can't seek any help politically in your country, it's time to dip. And people go through great pains and danger to dip. People don't just pay coyotes for nothing if they could just, oh well, I'm just gonna leave like it was easy. No, that's not the case. So then you look at the Middle East, you look at the Hamas situation. Hamas is essentially the government. So if you're trying to get away from that, you're going to need asylum. So I don't see where you have any other option but to seek asylum when this group that is violent and you don't agree with them, they're either going to kill you where you stand or you're going to try to make some way to get out of there.
Mhm.
I get what you're
Lauren, what do you
saying,
think
but
about
I just
this?
don't. I get what you're saying, and I think people might have a potential to seek asylum. That being said, I would have to look at like I do think it is a case by case basis, and furthermore, I don't think any country should be required to take in asylum seekers. Like for instance, what country did you say was taking in not
Dominican Republic. Is that what that border
Dominican
is just
Republic?
changing?
Yeah. Like the Dominican Republic, and also DR is so small. I don't think they could take on like an entire country's amount of an entire country's worth
Well,
of
they're
stuff.
bigger than Haiti.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bigger than
but
Haiti.
they're so populated. They're still currently
I know.
it's not
Like
like it's
obviously, like, I
empty.
employed it in there. But I'm just saying.
That's like New York City. It's like adding
Yeah, I
like an
know.
entire
I'm just
city
saying. I'm
to
just
New
saying.
York
Obviously,
City, and then being like, well, New York City's bigger. And it's like, yeah, but it's already currently
yeah,
populated with New
I
York
know.
City residents.
No, yeah, I know that. I was like half memeing, but like in general, like I do think that Dominican Republic can probably, and we've seen. I mean, Dominican Republic has. It's very crazy to look at like the stats and stuff between the Dominican Republic and Haiti's, like the complete difference of Dominican Republic actually becoming into like a prosperous country in general. Where they like I was reading about this gold mine that they found whatever X amount of years ago, and it's like pulling in like huge amounts of like money to their GDP that they can export. But it seems like Haiti's at the moment, unfortunately, just hasn't done that. Another thing that really sucks about Haiti as well is back to the French and the slaves that they brought in there. By the way, another thing I saw too, which blew my fucking mind, the French put more slaves in Haiti than the entire slave population of the United States of America during its entire time. That's fucking
Bruh.
nuts, by the way. That's
Yeah.
fucking nuts. But they also cut down all their trees and traded all their fucking lumber and shit like that during that time. And that really fucked them up too because of from natural disasters, which just keeps perpetually putting them into a boom earthquake, hurricane, mudslides. All these things start happening because of just it's a terrible history. The lack of everything that happened to that side of that island is awful.
I mean,
But I
clearly
was
the
half meaning about
Spanish were
like
the
bringing
best
them.
colonizers. You know, they were the nice empire. It was clearly the Spanish were the good ones. You know?
The Aztec says, "Hold my beer," okay? So you know.
No,
Mhm.
I'm just joking on that one.
Same with the alien group down there. What are they? God, I went to their temple too in Mexico. What
The
the fuck are they
Mayans?
called?
Göbekli Tepe?
Yeah,
Or
the
what are you
Mayans.
talking
The
about?
Mayans. Yeah, I went to
Mayans.
yeah, I took a trip down to Göbekli Tepe. By the way, I don't believe in aliens, but I started believing in aliens after I saw that place. I played
There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah, the ruins in Mexico are pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, it is interesting that you say that with the French, because the French definitely left Haiti in destitute like straits, right? Compared to like Spain, when they left like even when they left Mexico, it seemed much more amicable. And pretty much all the countries that they left, not all of them, but most of them are a lot better off than like any place France has ever left behind. And so, like, how much do we blame France? Should France be paying reparations to Haiti? Why is it France sending boots on the ground to fix this problem if they're the lead problem?
That's a good fucking point. We should force France to fucking put their military up, dude.
I agree with you.
We can't.
And the reason why is, oh, go ahead.
Oh God, no! I was just gonna say we can't force other countries to. How are we going to force France to help Haiti? And furthermore, I just don't. How is that even going to help? Like if the United States with the most powerful military and the most resources has failed every time they've entered a situation, whether there's been a power vacuum and they tried to put up a new government, then what is going to make another country such as France do a better job?
I mean,
we didn't fail. No, I'm saying we didn't fail in Haiti. We just left them fucked and we took their resources.
We failed.
Well, Haiti and Afghanistan.
What?
Yeah, and then we let Papa Doc take over.
Did you say we didn't fail?
So
are you saying we didn't fail in Afghanistan?
No, I said we didn't fail in Haiti. I said Haiti is not Afghanistan.
Well, so actually, Lauren, let me ask you this.
It's very similar as to what we're trying to do by coming in and saying, hey, your government is kaput and you're struggling, so we're going to come in and we're going to be your military temporarily until you get a little government going, and then you have this little government, and then we'll help you build your military and we'll dip out. That is what happened in Afghanistan.
It's a little bit different here.
That's not what happened in Haiti. So in Haiti, you had France there already.
I'm not saying that's what happened.
No. I'm saying the reason why that can't be what's going to happen is because historically, that's not what happened. They already had a government there. The French had already set up shop there. The slave population that happened up until 1804, that place was already colonized. So it's not like Afghanistan, which was not colonized. So with that being the case, when the French left in, I want to say 1820, they basically put a tax on Haiti of 122 million francs that was going to be paid over 22 years. The U.S. came in and took up the debt from the bank in Haiti and set up government there and set up a military. They were already colonized. It's not the same deal.
I mean, yeah, I want to. So let me ask you this, Lauren, because I feel like we have similar.
This
is why I'm going to ask you this.
But it's currently fractured. Yes. So your solution is to go in and how do you fix the unfracturing? It's different because like the people are more like the Haitian people identify as Haitian, whereas the Afghanistan people were more just a bunch of
They speak French.
Can I ask a question? So do you think that Palestinians seeking asylum from in Gaza, do you think they should be allowed to seek asylum in the United States? Like following what Kai said, like regarding Hamas being the government of Gaza?
I'm going to answer that. The answer is absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'll answer that for. I'm just kidding. You go ahead, Lawrence, but no.
It would be a case by case situation. Like if they meet any of the one of the 5 things, then sure. Yeah, it's a case.
You don't think that just being a Palestinian that disagrees with like Hamas, like as a governing institution, is enough to qualify?
Okay, I actually tell you that if you can vet them and prove that they actually been anti-Hamas and their life is in danger when Hamas will get them, then all right, sure. But I think you're going to have a hard time vetting that, as opposed to I think Haiti, the average individual. This is why I maybe soften my stance on this personally. I know I've been trying to be pretty moderate here. But this is my question to you, Lauren, like real quick on this, right? And
Mhm.
this is because I know that we share similar beliefs when it comes to like our like interventionists with like what we've been doing with NATO, and we want to carry the fair share and whatnot. And this is kind of an opportunity where both the U.S. and Canada have both chose not to be the leaders, right? And we've put money towards this, and we wanted someone else to step up, right? And so this is an opportunity for someone, and at Kenya, it looks like they're trying to at least consider stepping up for once and letting us not do it. So this is my question to my fellow Republicans here, and I guess that's you, but would be like, when other countries step up, why wouldn't we want them to support? Because isn't that what like Trump and like other Republicans are asking? We're asking for other countries to do their fair share, so we don't have to play the global policeman all the time. Is not that because it seems like you're advocating against even that.
I
Great
don't think
question.
that
Holy shit.
Yeah, I think that, well, okay, Trump was advocating that if we had the UN, then everybody pay in. But otherwise, or like if NATO is going to exist, everybody pitch in and do their part. But I don't think that he was ever encouraging any other country to get involved or become the new policeman. And I don't even think that he was for having the United States police other areas. He was attempting to pull out of Afghanistan in a much better way. He was attempting to pull out troops, and also he didn't start any wars and didn't get into any new conflicts. And so I wouldn't say that he's for more countries coming in and becoming the world police. Is that what you believe?
I just personally, my thing is like, well, first of all, I mean, I break from Trump. I'm not a Trumper. I'm like a neocon, so I like intervention. But like, if we're gonna sit here as a Republican and say, hey, okay, we're voting for Trump, right? He's the Trump. He's personally advocating for more of an isolationist, maybe not completely isolationist, but he wants other countries to handle their shit. This is a case where other countries are offering to step in because there's clearly Haiti's not handling their shit, right? We can't have our cake and eat it too. We can't say you have to carry your own fair share in NATO, and then us sit here and go, oh, this countries are offering to do something like Kenya is offering to do something. If you give them X, Y, Z criteria, just like the U.S. has said NATO, as long as you meet this criteria, even under Trump, we're not going to pull out, right? So if we're going to sit here and tell these other countries that you have to step up, like we can't sit here and go when they want to step up, go no, boo boo for doing it. Like you see, kind of where I'm like kind of having a catch-22 on this, or no,
Yeah, I get you're saying. But
it can't
but
be both.
usually when the United States is giving a list, it's because we're already needed at that point and we're already wanted. These other countries are like, "Hey, we want to help." And at this point, I'm saying I don't think that intervention is going to benefit anyone. It's just, how is this going to benefit? Like, how
So
is
I
adding troops to the ground or sending money going to, I understand sending Peace Corps maybe, but
Peace Corps,
Peace
they're
Corps
not
and
armed.
like
so there are
humanitarian.
yeah, I have a couple of thoughts. So one of them has to do, I half agree with like Lauren on the point about the France. Yes, it would be better, and it probably is true that France has more of a responsibility to do something and to provide aid and to provide boots on the ground in comparison, maybe, well, to the United States given the history. But the issue is that even though that's true, um, it does boil down to a question of national sovereignty, right? We are not France, okay? The United States, like, you can hope and you can put that in your pipe and smoke it and wish for that to be true, okay? But the reality is, like, the only like the this is within our locus of control, okay? We can hope that we can try to negotiate with France to try to ask France to step in, but at the end of the day, the people who are in the best position to do something is the United States. It's the United States.
Or
We should
nobody.
ask and we should invite, or nobody. Well, what will happen if nobody does anything?
I don't know, but I
What
think
is
it
your
would be,
solution?
my solution would be do nothing. Honestly, at this point, I just don't think that our intervention benefits. I think that we continually harm
Well,
when we mean to help. I think that every time we send troops, it ends up harming. Every time we send money, it ends up harming. When we send weapons, it ends up harming. So I don't think that we should do anything. And I think it's really unfortunate. I think it's a very sad situation. I just don't think us going there actually helps. Just like I think it's very.
Well,
Do you
we
think
already
do you-
sent weapons, and it's helping the paramilitary group.
That's exactly my
Yeah.
point. You're proving my point. Thank you.
so
Actually, the
don't
opposite.
Wait, Lauren, I have a question. Wait,
I
hold on,
mean,
Lauren,
I
have
don't
a
know. That's
question. Do you
kind of
think-
true. She's right on that. I mean, we are sending weapons, but the difference is I don't know that we're actually sending the weapons. I think that groups here in the U.S. are sending weapons there, which
Bingo.
is a slight difference. But
So if
But-
they're already getting U.S.
wait,
weapons, we might as well clean up the mess that we helped make in the first place.
Wait,
I would agree
you're,
with that.
you're saying
And I
that
also
you're saying that the gangs of people are using United States weapons, correct?
From Florida, yes.
That is literally my flipping point. If we send weapons, it gets into the wrong hands and the bad people use it. So thank you for proving my point, not the opposite.
But
I
the
just
issue-
say
Do
that.
you
but the-
understand how they're getting these weapons, Lauren?
like
You
From
said from
citizens in the United
Florida.
States shipping them. Citizens in Florida shipping them to Haiti.
yeah,
Not the
well,
U.S.
alleged-
government.
well, hold on, alleged citizens. We don't know for sure that they're citizens. We just
Okay,
know they're
if the
coming.
U.S.
from Florida.
government does
coming.
it, do you think it'll be any better? You think the U.S. government would do it better? Because we have a history of the U.S. government sending weapons and it ending up in the hands of terrorists. So I don't understand how this is any better.
So let me flip flop and be on Lauren's side for a second here. I'll give an example here of where it's going bad. I just posted an article in my politics Discord, and it mentions all the gangs. It's one of like the 5 I've just posted in here the whole time. It's one of the things talks about how 3 of the leaders. There's 3 different major leaders in this gang groups that have kind of aligned themselves, and one of the leaders is basically like their fast attack guy. And basically, what he's doing is the minute one of the G9 countries sends aid to Haiti, he hits the transports, takes their aid, and it's all basically all the aid that from the aid package that we're sending is going, not all of it, but a large portion is going basically to the gang. So like we're not even giving them food and stuff to these people.
Literally,
I
my
mean, and that would
point.
yeah,
Literally.
that's what I'm saying.
I
Flip flop. Yeah,
brought that up in the beginning. I brought that up in the beginning of the debate, basically saying that a lot of countries right now have held off a lot of their aid or at least decreased it because they used to have open airway or open ports for entry of aid in Haiti, but because the conflict has gotten so bad, literally the gangs have completely taken over the ports as well. And then they also, on top of that, they get the aid and then they export it to the people that are living there at the moment, which in my personal opinion here, I don't think that we should stop aid because of this. But like in general, we need to make sure we're very cautious of what aid it is. It needs to be food, it needs to be water, it needs to be these types of things in general. I know, Hart, yes. I don't know. I think again, fuck, dude. I just don't want to put United States boots on the ground to fix a problem of Haiti's where I don't even know historically when we've done this before in the past has worked.
Well, just to ask a brief like question. I think that like saying that we should do nothing. I'm sorry. I think that's an unacceptable answer. I think that like to do absolutely nothing, to do absolutely zero aid, zero negotiations, zero like truly just leaving Haiti to defend itself. That seems to me to be an unacceptable answer for a couple of reasons. Kai has already touched upon our economic interest in Haiti. We've both touched upon the moral responsibility, the fact that we have a moral like responsibility. I would say, I think Kai would probably agree with me, to intervene with Haiti given the history. But there's a third reason, and that's one that I mentioned earlier, which is the fact that this is bleeding over into the Dominican Republic. The problem with ignoring like unrest in other countries and leaving them to defend for themselves and to blow up and to not intervene is that when we don't do that, that this spillage doesn't just stay in that one area.
Okay,
the reason why
I
we
feel
send
like-
money to support Ukraine is so that Georgia doesn't fall. It's so that it's so that the other countries in the surrounding area don't fall. It's because we don't want to see the rest of Western Europe potentially fall to Russia. And it's a similar there's a similar logic behind why we would intervene in Haiti. It's because we don't want to see the Dominican Republic fall, which is what the president of the Dominican Republic is pleading the United Nations to intervene for that very reason. It's why he said that. So if you don't care about Haiti, that's fine.
Oh
but
my
then realize
God.
that you're also throwing the Dominican Republic to the wind as a consequence.
That's wild. That's a poor argument strategy to take my argument about how I want less harm and therefore I find intervening causes more harm. You saying that me wanting to not intervene is me not caring. That's not
I'm saying you don't want to do anything.
that it. Yeah,
That's what
because
you said.
doing something typically causes harm, and I don't want to
Yeah, but there's a
harm
different
more.
right,
So-
but something doesn't necessarily even have to be boots on the ground. It could be negotiating with other countries to do something. It could be asking other countries. Like that's what Paul has said. Me and Kai are of a different opinion, but I mean there are other things that you could do other than sending boots on the ground, right? That's not a nothing response. But you're advocating for, as I understand it, a nothing response. And a
I
true
don't have
nothing
anything
response is
against
no going any.
I have nothing against negotiate. I just have something against boots on the ground, sending aid, sending money, or sending any real response. Fine, negotiation, that's one thing. Trying to
With other
settle
countries to send boots in.
So,
negotiation.
okay, let me flip this then. Because I think that I kind of understand her point, right? Like, I mean, I'm sympathetic to it. It seems like she's arguing basically, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Warren. If she's basically arguing that every time we intervene, it seems that a lot of the times, not every time, but a good portion of the times, things are worse because we've intervened. Like, arguably, after taking out Saddam, we made the Middle East worse. Now, I would personally argue that we did exactly what we wanted, and we got our oil. We don't need to go all of that. But the point is, though, like she's arguing basically every time we intervene, look at Afghanistan, look at Iraq, that the situation is made worse by our intervention, regardless of whether that's troops on the ground or us sending aid willy nilly and like the bad guys getting it, et cetera, et cetera. And that as opposed to what, like, I think you're kind of making it out to be like she's saying that I don't think she's saying do nothing. She's just saying
Okay.
the current things, right? Am I wrong? Is that what you're saying, Lauren?
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
that was my entire point. That was my
Okay.
entire point.
Well, then that's my bad. I just thought that, like you said, like do nothing, and I assumed that meant nothing. But that's fair. That might just
So
be a misunderstanding. But just to be clear, like I understand, like in recent memory, when we're thinking about Afghanistan, and when we're thinking about like I understand we can generate examples of where the United States has severely failed. I think it's worth pointing out that the United States has not always failed in its intervention. There have been interventions
True.
from the United States that have been successful. A good example of this would be the Marshall Plan. So from 1948 to 1951, when the United States intervened in Western Europe to help to rebuild, to help to boost the economy in Western Europe after World War II.
Okay.
Rebuilding Japan from 1945 to 1952 is another example.
Can we think
The
of an
NATO
example
expansion is
within
an
the
example.
last like 30 years?
I don't know that I can, but even if I can't, but you said, and just to be very clear, you said that the United States has never been successful at that, and that's obviously not true. Like we have examples of the United States being successful at this. Like I just provided 2 of them.
Okay, I guess I'm
I
gonna have
mean,
to be really finicky with my words here, but in the past, in our lifespans, the United States has been wildly unsuccessful at intervention, and in fact,
Was
I
Iraq
haven't
a,
seen what
was Iraq a failed intervention?
I think many people
depends on
consider
who you
Iraq
ask.
a failed intervention.
I don't know if you look at it now. I mean, if you look at Iraq now in general, yeah, it's not like perfect, but they're in a lot better place than what they were. Don't get me wrong. Was it right or correct? With the weapons of mass destruction? Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit there and say that it was, but that intervention does look like the Iraq economy is doing a lot better than it used to.
Paul,
We
Um,
gained
remind me of this
after
later, Paul.
that. We gave actual terrorist weapons. We have like larger terrorism spell than ever before. Look at what just happened in Israel. So
Somebody clip that. Go
yeah,
ahead.
we could talk about Israel and everything, but I was asking about Iraq.
I mean, so so wait, are you advocating that Iraq was a good intervention? That is, they did
No, I'm
better
not saying it was a good intervention. I'm saying that there are times when we intervene, and we have, and she said that we haven't
Yeah,
seen it in our lifetime.
okay, I'll take that. I'll take.
Yeah.
What about Kuwait? Kuwait is doing a lot better now that we, invaded Iraq. I mean, there's pros and cons to that. Now, I would be interested to see. I have a friend who's Iraqi. He's very, very left leaning. Obviously, I would love you. One of y'all got to remind me of this later to message him. He'd probably come on because he's like a political activist. So I'm sure he would love to come do one of these. But he loved living under Saddam, and he hates that we invaded Iraq because he thought Saddam was great for him. So I think it's all depending on the person you ask with that. But like I said, I think we accomplished our goals in Iraq. Now, I will say, I think there have been examples in the last like 30, 40 years we haven't invaded that well. Like I'm saying, like Somalia, we took out some bad guys there. Djibouti, we're doing pretty good. We do pretty good in African countries when we like send troops, but we also like work way more closely with their governments than it seems like. We don't usually overthrow them. We usually empower them. It seems like that's kind of
And
that's
there
rare.
are examples of humanitarian aid projects that have been successful. So one example would be PEPFAR. So PEPFAR, for those of you who don't know, like, and I literally just Googled this because I was curious. I wanted to know if there was one that was successful. So it's the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief. It was one of the largest and most successful initiatives ever taken by the United States to address a global health crisis. And it was announced by President George Bush during his State of the Union address on January 28th of 2003. The long and short of it was that the United States' intervention and decision to try to support, to fund HIV and AIDS prevention, like within what countries specifically? The most affected regions, including sub-Saharan Africa, the Caribbean, and parts of Asia. According, at least when I'm reading, it's been credited with the significant achievements in the global fight against HIV and AIDS.
Okay,
and by expanding access to
weren't a lot of women, because of similar humanitarian crusades, deemed infertile, and weren't entire like countries, specifically in Africa, targeted with these humanitarian and then also that's okay, even if you want to consider one of those successful, when the majority of them were wildly unsuccessful and targeted Black countries, rendering them sterile, that's not even remotely similar, because I don't see gangs of people fighting said humanitarian causes. It's not like when the humanitarian AIDS medication comes to the country, there's like a gang of people trying to stop the medication or steal it from themselves. Where in Haiti, we have like an actual active war-torn situation. It's a very different type of intervening humanitarian.
Well, I don't disagree. I'm just pointing out, like, because like we stated like earlier that like, can we think of like an intervention program or an aid program that has taken place in the past 30 years that has been successful that we can think of? And I didn't know, so I Googled, and this one has been successful. And not only was it successful, it was successful in saving the lives of dozens of people. And I don't think that that's nothing, especially like in terms of extending our goodwill to other countries. As far as like there not being And secondly, as far as the infertility claim, I don't know anything about that. I'd be curious if you could link me an article that says that. I can send you this link about PEPFAR, but I don't know like specifically if that has anything to do with this program that I just mentioned, if that's true. And I don't know if like, and I genuinely, I don't know. As far as like, all of this is to say and to establish that it's clear that some of our intervention in the past has been successful. Now, that doesn't mean that we haven't made mistakes. It doesn't mean that like we haven't screwed it up in like multiple locations, but it does show that we do have a record of having some successes in some areas before. And as I would say, and I think Kai agrees with me, that because of the history that we have with Haiti, we have a responsibility to do something. And I dislike the idea of trying to strong arm or waiting for other countries to pick up the baton to try to do something, because A, it's expenditure of resources. It's passing the buck off to somebody else. And I think that we should be the ones to do something. There's also the matter of the fact that we have American citizens within Haiti. So there's even a reason motivated in self-interest why we should intervene. Do you think we should just abandon our citizens who are in Haiti and leave them to fend for themselves? What do you think we should do?
Well, you should always attempt to try to help your citizens. That's a completely different question about whether or not you should intervene with the country politically.
Do you think we should send troops in to try to protect our citizens that are in Haiti?
We already did do that, to be clear. We already bolstered security at the embassy. So that's one thing we've already kind of done, to be fair. So I mean, when we say troops on the ground, we're not talking about the embassy. Let's just be clear, like trying to advocate for more ways for citizens to get out. But yeah, I think that's like not necessarily a fair assessment, right? Like I get where you're coming from, Fair Creek, right? Like, but just to push back on you a little bit in Lauren's defense, yeah, I feel like by the way, I had planned on having a couple more other people that were more Republican on here, but they ran. So it's you, Lauren. I apologize. So I guess it's just I'm trying to be a moderator.
Wait, I have a question. Wait, do I fall in the Republican camp?
You are a Republican, absolutely.
You're a Republican today, apparently, which is kind of funny. Yeah, I mean, you even advocated for Iraq, so we're over.
I didn't advocate for Iraq. I was just saying that I don't think that was a failed thing, that intervention. That's all I was saying.
Yeah, I mean, I would even throw Panama even though the international community didn't like it, but Panama's done pretty good since then, and we got what we wanted out of it. Noriega's in prison, so kind of stuff. It depends on how you define it. What was I? What were you? Sorry, what were you just saying right before that? Before I pushed. Oh, these boots on the ground. Let me ask this. So I saw someone in the chat say this earlier, and I thought it was interesting. And I looked it up, and I don't think it's viable. But would y'all be advocating for, say, the Dominican Republic invading Haiti and taking it over if
Taking
we
it
were going to do
over.
it? Or like
That's called a
invading?
war, isn't it?
Well,
I
I mean,
would.
the intervention. That's what we're talking about right now. We could
Well,
like
would they give
jump
it
around
back?
the curves.
Would they give it back?
I mean, should they? I mean, there you go. These are
Well,
questions.
yeah. I mean, if we intervene, I mean, when we talk about intervening, I assume what we're talking about when we talk about what Lethe and Fairy Queen was saying. I assume with intervening, we try to establish a government and we give back their country. I assume is what they mean. By that.
Like when we intervened in Hawaii.
Well, that was a long time ago. Okay, that was a long time ago. All right, different times. Okay, different times.
Sure. Okay. I mean, why is it different times though? Russia doesn't see it that way. I mean, so you bring up the different times
right
now. I mean, you bring
You
up
gonna
the
bring
different
up
times.
Russia?
No, I mean, no, I'm going to make this argument. So then so Lauren brought up the last 30 years, right? And I'm going to expand it to the last 100. The last 100 years, this is the first time in history where countries have been like basically given back, right? And I don't know that's necessarily a good thing, but people seem like you just seem to want to advocate for that. I mean, what if we said the Dominican Republic just intervened and they didn't take it up? Like, would you advocate for them to intervene and like step in, or would it be better if they took over? Like, what are the
I think that we would probably see Dominican Republic do something if they really do start trying to go in and trying to take over their country as well. I think we will see that where they will intervene. And also on top of that, it probably would spark a United States actual boots on the ground response as well on top of it. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't know the difference between, I mean, does the Dominican Republic have a good army? I don't know. Or
no, it's fucking terrible. That's why
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
real. That's why Kenya's stepping up and not them. That's a big reason, I think. I mean, I'm just guessing, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's it.
So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
I would feel concerned. Again, this is dependent upon the history. Were it not for the history, like I would say yes. But given the history of relations between like the Dominican Republic and between Haiti and the strong cultural and divides that exist between those two countries, if the Dominican Republic were to invade Haiti, I would feel very worried for the people of Haiti. Frankly, I would feel worried of the consequences of that. I would feel worried. There's also the question of national sovereignty, right? So if the Dominican Republic were to invade Haiti, is it to put Haiti's house back in order and then to give it back to Haiti and then to leave, or is it to conquer Haiti and to make it become a part of the Dominican Republic?
Okay, so
That's the question.
So it's ironically, despite Dominican Republic being such a weak military power, there is a Caribbean power that is also offered to do something about it, like today. But they're actually the strongest Caribbean power. But I don't know that anybody here is going to advocate for them doing anything. And it's Cuba. What would y'all say to Cuba?
See, bruh.
I don't believe
Would you
believe
be okay with
anything that
Cuba
comes out of
stepping in?
Cuba.
This
I
is
don't
the
believe anything that
problem.
comes out of
So, if this was 2 years ago, I'd probably be making an entirely different argument because Haiti has been a buffer state to Cuba against communist powers from the moment we took over. So we've basically been using Haiti to buffer us from Cuba. But I want to say if America could probably get something together with Cuba now that Russia is on the back foot and actually establish Cuba with American interests and have them have a stake in Haiti, that would probably be good.
You think so? Yeah, because they're offering to send people, but not military. So
I'm not shocked.
Yeah,
I mean-
I thought that interesting that Cuba was like, no, we don't want to touch this with like our military.
Let me ask both you, Gibbs, and Lauren, and I don't know what's.
I mean,
I guess I'll ask this to Paul too, but we'll see. So suppose for a minute that Russia were offered to send boots on the ground, or offered to send aid to Haiti, or a country that like we have severe tensions with, they suddenly take an interest in the region and they send troops and they decide to put Haiti's house back in order. Would that change your opinion about like whether or not the United States should intervene?
I mean, to be
I
clear, I haven't
Yeah.
put forward my
Yes.
position on what we should do.
I'm just asking.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
it would
Yes.
change your mind.
Absolutely. The same reason why it changed during the Cold War when they fucking said they're going to ship missiles to Cuba. Yes, they're way too fucking close to home. Not cool. Yes.
What about
Because-
you, Lauren? What do you think? Would you?
If Russia was trying to purchase control over the country, I would be concerned in the similar way that China is purchasing land, like from all and purchasing up other countries in a similar fashion. But that being said, I don't think that would cause me to want to send humanitarian aid, because once again, I feel like the aid is actually causing more problems than it's helping.
What if they sent troops? Like they're like, we're gonna come in, we're fixing the problem tomorrow. Russia's coming in.
They're sending troops. I would be concerned for other reasons that there's troops. I don't know if I would send my troops to go try to solve the Haiti situation myself. I think that there might be another reason to send troops for our own protective stance, our own defensive stance.
I think that I think that is like the reason I'm bringing up Russia or an enemy state like to the United States is that when we choose not to intervene, when we choose not to send aid, when we choose not to send troops, when we choose to ignore and to let this country fend for itself, whatever the case may be, the issue becomes, especially if that country is geographically close to ours and an enemy foreign country decides to take a great amount of interest in like what's happening, then we've created a power vacuum. We've created an opportunity that could potentially threaten our borders. So now you've created a situation by choosing not to intervene. Well, now Russia decides to intervene, and now they send troops, they set their house in order, and now
there already.
I know, but I'm saying by not choose. But do you want Russia to fill it, or do you want the United States to fill it? That's the question.
I don't think that either solution is good. I don't think that. Okay, I don't know if Russia filling it. So you just want to rush to hold on, quick question. Can I just counter that question with a question? Do you want to fill every power vacuum in the world with the United States before one of our enemies fills it?
No, I don't think so. I think it would depend on the stakes of it, and I think it would depend on how close to home like the power vacuum is. So, and like how much we've invested like within that country, within that territory. That's what I would say.
Okay,
I mean, that's first my. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so if a country is like close enough in relations with us, as soon as they're having a power vacuum, we should attempt to fill it in the off chance that one of our enemies attempts to fill it, and we should fill it first.
I would say so. It depends obviously on the stakes or how much we've invested within the nation or what the odds of it being potentially threatening to us. But yes, that's what I'm saying.
I'm anti-intrusionary. I like to be more isolationist. So you seem to want to control the entire planet, and that's on you. That's fine, but that's not how I would rule. That if I were in charge of the United States, I would not want to be the world police officer anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you want my answer? I'll give you my answer real quick, Fairy Queen. And my answer is going to be very different. And it's going to be fuck this intervention bullshit. Let's start conquering these bitches. Time for Manifest Destiny 2.0.
The whooping,
Yes,
the
the
whooping,
the weapons from the sky.
I mean, listen, we come in tomorrow. Like, you're telling me that the average Haitian's life wouldn't be drastically improved if we took over the whole country and made it the ultimate tourist destination? Like, come on. We'd be making tons of money. They'd be making money. We could make it a special economic zone. They don't get any voting rights. And we could put, like, all our, like, factories there. We'd no longer need China. Like, this is great. I absolutely. So as for what she said, I think we should step in for every power vacuum? Absolutely. They should start becoming all special economic zones of the United States that we own permanently. That's what I think. But, like, that's not a realistic solution in this situation. But
I'm not saying that every time there is a power vacuum that exists on Earth that the United States should intervene. What I'm saying is if the stakes are high enough, and if there's a likelihood that if we don't fill it, that it could potentially be threatening to our national sovereignty, that yes, we should step in, and yes, we should do something. That is
okay. How about this? I don't think that we should intervene until I believe that there's national threat. I don't believe in intervention. I believe in isolationism for the most part. As soon as we see a threat to United States soil, then we can consider intervening. So far, we've seen that when we intervene, we tend to cause more pain than more.
So my knee-jerk
Yeah, go ahead.
My knee-jerk response to that would be Pearl Harbor. So if I dialed the clock back prior to the bombing of Pearl Harbor, would you have said that the United States should continue to be isolationist and should ignore what was happening like in Western Europe at that time?
Prior to Pearl Harbor, well, you're asking me if we should just ignore the Holocaust. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know that we really, I could be wrong. People, you all can correct me. I don't know if we knew of the existence or of the extent of the Holocaust at that
I
point.
don't think anybody knew until we started discovering the camps.
That's
Yeah,
my understanding
My
as well.
understanding.
It was a huge shock. Like when we knew that did we know that Jews were being targeted in Nazi Germany?
Yeah, we
Is
didn't know
that something?
they were. Yeah, we didn't know they were being put in ovens and death camps. Like to
Yeah.
that extent. We knew that they were leaving because we thought it was like
Yeah,
economic.
there's like crazy
and other
reports of
persecution.
American soldiers and everyone like coming up, and they literally they were smoking cigarettes, and they were literally like Jews would come out and literally take the cigarette out of people's mouths and start eating them. And there was like, holy shit, what's happening here?
Yeah,
You
and
know?
like there's some wild reports like where they would go back to like the villages nearby, and, like you knew about this shit, and y'all definitely didn't tell us. And they're like, y'all are all coming out here, and you're burying the dead, and you're letting these people stay in your houses. Like I don't think anybody knew until like they rolled up on it. So like,
Right.
yeah, I don't. But as far as then, even then, that's not a fair assessment. All right, I'm just going to stop being as moderator for a little bit. That's not a fair assessment either. Once again, because we were definitely giving them money, and we were fighting the Japanese with the Flying Tigers in China. We were sending money and troops all over to the not troops. We were sending volunteers, money, and other stuff through the land lease to the UK. We were like sending like troops and stuff, and Germany was advocating not to like attack our transports because they didn't want us to get involved. Because what happened in World War One, so they already learned their lesson then. And then Japan was like, fuck all that shit, let's go. And then I mean, we're summarizing quite a bit there, but yeah, so like they were already getting quite a bit of tangible like support from the US, you know, pre Pearl Harbor. So that's not a real fair like
Okay.
analogy, like in my opinion, if you want to like, you know.
Well, are you saying that like this is a genuine question. Did the United States send troops, boots on the ground overseas in World War II prior to Pearl Harbor? Is that what you're saying, Gibbs?
I mean, we sent troops to China to fight the Japanese. Yeah, there were boots on the ground fighting with the Flying Tigers. Now they were like plausible deniability, but there was like the Flying Tigers was a full-on squad of American aircraft fighting in China against the Japanese for like maybe 3 or 4 years before even like Pearl Harbor even started, like during the invasion, and then like. So yeah, there's evidence, and then like I said, we were sending money, weapons, like all sorts of goods. That's part of the reason. The problem was that the Nazis had actual heavy support in the United States up to like the invasion, the attack on Pearl Harbor. There was a lot of like Nazi support and groundswell because they were very like Joseph Goebbels is. This is gonna sound bad to praise somebody so evil, but is maybe the best propagandist. Like they study him to this day. They study how to make propaganda, and nobody did it better than Goebbels. Like if Goebbels had the internet today, we would be fucked. Everybody would just be Nazis now. Like there's like the guy is like a genius. He's evil as fuck, but like so like he had a massive support. And then after Pearl Harbor, that kind of evaporated because Americans, what do we hate? We hate people hitting us in the mouth. The minute you hit us in the mouth, we invade. You know, that's kind of our thing. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of like one of those catch-22s where Roosevelt couldn't send as much as he wanted, but he was actively working with the Allied powers long before Pearl Harbor, based on what I understand.
Do you think that like it was a mistake not to become more heavily involved prior to Pearl Harbor, or do you think that like that was understandable given like given the political environment of the time?
I think it was understandable. I mean, it's like a rock and a hard place kind of thing. You know, like what are you gonna do? Are you gonna like invade? Like you know, like so you're going through the depression, you're coming out of it, right? Like you're gonna just like send people over there. Like whenever we haven't been attacked, there's very popular. Hitler's popular in the U.S. Like people are looking to him as like a leader that's took a country. Like All right, so like this is gonna sound bad once again, but if you're an average American, you don't live there, right? What the information you're getting is from the Nazi Party here in the United States. They're advocating all these things. They're showing why it's good. Then you see Hitler took a country that was even more of a fucking shithole country than the United States was during the Depression, and he took them out of that. And like, if you're a United States citizen, it's very easy to look at that and be sympathetic. And Roosevelt go, "Oh shit, well I can't just directly have a reason." Then Japan gave us one. So no, I think that it was kind of like a hands tied situation for Roosevelt, like in that regard. I mean, now whether or not that was the morally correct thing, yeah, obviously it was not the morally correct thing because the Nazis are Nazis. Like that's bad. Like
Mhm.
but historically, yeah, I mean, I think it's within reason to understand why it was done the way it was done. I mean, do you
Interesting.
disagree with that?
I don't know enough about the history really to comment. I'd be curious to know what Paul or like what Kai think and like what their opinions on it are. I merely brought it up as an example, which I accept if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But my understanding was that like we could have like we had the opportunity to become more involved and to choose to send more aid and to send more troops, and that we were trying to support as much as we could without actually becoming actively involved with the war. Was my understanding prior to Pearl Harbor, and Pearl
So
Harbor was the event that set off
So,
the
I mean,
reason, like why
even
we
then,
became
just
involved.
one thing. This is an interesting side note about Gibbs family history. My family is related to the Admiral, and now I'm going to forget his name. Now that I thought just said this, but we're related to the Admiral that was the Admiral in charge of the Pacific Theater before Nimitz, and he was advocating to Roosevelt the whole time that we were about to be attacked. And like, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that he knew it was coming because he wanted to get him right. But the American
Yeah.
public was not going to support this war. So like, that's the reason why none of the aircraft carriers were at Pearl Harbor. Right, but like all the battleships, like,
Yeah,
shit
there's
like
conspiracy about it. So to my understanding, Ferry, I could be wrong about this. I would have to look it up, but to my understanding is we were giving them a fuck ton of aid to the during the war, where there's like a famous cartoon that shows I forget it might be from Oversimplified, funny enough, the YouTube channel. I don't know if you know who that or what YouTube channel that is, but it's a great YouTube channel. It's basically oversimplifying random things throughout history, and it's like a normal it's like a shitty cartoon drawings, but it's a really fucking good channel. But where they like are planes like this from the United States of America going into like
Mhm.
and like it shows it to you super quick, and that's how much aid we were flying in there. We were flying in like so many planes into this area during World War II. Also, another thing too, we have to remember as well, the reason why to my understanding at least, the reason why we didn't want to get involved with World War II super early was because we didn't have to get involved with World War I until super late. So
Hmm.
I think they were also kind of looking at that like, hey, do we really want to get into a war? Look at how great our body of water is, our geographical wall, we can call it. And that's another main reason I think we didn't really want to get involved at that time. But then obviously when you have a huge terrorist attack like Pearl Harbor happen on you as a president, you need to look strong and everything. So but that's to my understanding. I'm not like a World War II expert, but I'm pretty sure we gave a fuck ton of aid during the wars,
Okay.
and we wanted to stay back because we thought that the war would settle itself out like how it did in World War I before we were able to have to get involved. And
Okay.
also, we benefit from not with world wars over on that side of the country. So if we don't need to get involved, only thing that's going to do is going to make our country fucking stronger and better, and people are going to want to trade, and we can come in there and start fixing up the place and make money off of it and make our economy even better and better and better and better and better. So
So that's okay. That's fair. So let me reframe like my original question then. Gibbs and Lauren and Paul, like if do you think then that the United States like should have not given any aid whatsoever like during World War II? Should we have like really
fuck
restricted our
no.
funds, not given any
I don't
planes,
think
not
at
given any
that point,
troops?
No, we should have
did we
absolutely
have a
not.
history of failed intervention missions, or did we have a history of kind of being ballers in the military front?
yeah, at that point we've been whooping ass every time we did something. Like yeah. So I don't know that it's a fair comparison. Like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like, so other than Paul surprisingly turning into a neocon tonight and advocating for Iraq, I mean, like
I
most
didn't
people,
advocate for Iraq, motherfucker.
arguably,
I said, no, I said us getting involved within Iraq, aka intervening, seems to be more beneficial for their country as a whole, because Lauren or whoever was saying in our lifetime, we haven't seen intervening with the United States actually benefit a country that we've intervened with. That was the only thing. The WMD, hey man, I can turn you a lefty if you want me to, okay? All right.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the argument though, like within the last 30 years, I would argue, like we've won militarily. Every time we come in, listen, Taliban, guess what? You know, Toby keeps making songs about how they running away on camels, bombing them with F-22s, right? There's not really a chance, yeah, we whoop that ass. We're not maybe not the best at nation building. The last time we had to build a good nation was Panama, right? Like that's really the last time we were successful. You know, arguably, I mean, you can argue Iraq has not been a total abysmal failure. I mean, I would say it's done decently, right? Like as far as my neocon adventurist, and I liked it. I think we did great. Everything we got. Afghanistan, I don't think we failed in Afghanistan. I think Biden botched the pullout, but I think that otherwise, I mean, I think that we accomplished what our goals were. I mean, look at our KD ratios. Anytime we're in Afghanistan, it's like 1 American for like 1,000 Taliban. You know, so like, yeah, sure, but like as far as like, did we build a good nation? Clearly not. They fell apart within a week. You know, so I think that there's like different levels like to this, and I think it's hard to say like with like countries like Japan, like comparing like something like in the 50s and 60s, like Japan to like Afghanistan. I don't think they're like a fair comparison when Japan's always been a power pretty much, and Afghanistan has just been where empires go to die. That's the only thing they do is kill people like whenever like empires go there and export opium. Like it's not a fair comparison to say, yeah, we failed here and failed there. Like, I think, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, in my opinion, when it comes to that.
I just don't
As
think
far as
in
you're saying.
recent years our humanitarian efforts have actually been helping out for humanitarian purposes, and have almost always been doing the opposite and helping out the terrorists. So I'm finding it very hard to justify a reason to send more aid to terrorists.
Yeah,
I mean, I would need to see like so I accept that that might be true, but I would need to see like some specific examples like that you could name for me to buy that it would be less likely, because like if we're saying that like it's statistically unlikely, like given the majority, again, like we would need to like look at like all of the times in which we've given aid, in which we've attempted to do this, and then we would need to see. And if the stats really do show that like we fucked it up most of the time, then like even then, like I think that they're like the moral responsibility, but I could accept that, right? But I would need to see like some examples and some actual facts and figures to like verify that. As far
I
as the claim
mean,
that like we've never done anything right, or that like that we just don't, like there's never been a humanitarian
whoa,
like
whoa, whoa,
hold
whoa,
on.
whoa. We have one of the greatest exports right now because of something that America did. We wouldn't have K-pop and K-dramas right now
Oh
if
no.
America
True.
never got involved in
On that note,
Korea.
I gotta go to the
We
bathroom. I'll
established
be
the
right back.
DMZ,
I'm also gonna
Face.
and North
invite
Korea is
some
still
girls
sucking
when I go over
shit.
there, okay?
So I want to give Lord credit on one of these. I'm going to back her up on this one. So part of the reason what she said is, what was our military record like whenever before that? Well, guess what we were doing before World War II and World War One? Whenever we invaded those countries, what did we do? What did we took them the fuck over and we kept them. That's what we did. Look at Hawaii, took it over. Look at like Mexico. Well, we didn't take all of Mexico, but we took 80% of it. It was like, that's ours now.
Can we give some of it back, especially
Nah,
the Texas part?
Texas won itself, right? You know what I'm saying? Like part of Cuba, we took over part of Cuba. We still own Guantanamo Bay. Like, I mean, whenever you talk about these things, like you're like, oh, like what did like I'm saying, they don't own that. That's ours now. Whenever you talk about this, yeah, I agree with Lauren on the act that when we intervene, we do give money to these people and it's a problem. And I think I'm going to argue the opposite of what she's been arguing, though, is when she said we want to go more isolationist. I would argue, well, the reason why it's not working is because we're not committing. If we were committed and said, now this is our shit, y'all fucked up, and we came here, like welcome to the
Yes.
Wolfens, like
One world government. I'm in, brother.
I mean,
yeah,
I gotta
American
ask,
Empire,
why has Taiwan,
aliens, okay?
why has Taiwan not been taken over by China by this point?
Weather. I actually don't know. That was a joke.
U.S. military intervention.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
think
a good
that's
example.
Otherwise, they'd be a part of China right now.
Yep.
I mean that's a major reason.
Mm-hmm.
They're running war games as we
Do you
speak
think
to see if they can beat us.
Actually, Leafy, on a serious note, I've never really looked into Taiwan and like the reasons why, but like, do you really think it's that, or do you think that Do you think it's more of China looking at what happens when, like, what happened with like Ukraine and Russia, like how the entire world completely turned on these people? Because
No, they
Taiwan
don't
isn't just
care.
like some. Hmm.
China does not care. They just want to know what they're going to lose when they go fighting against America.
Do you
So
think
they've
it'll
war
happen?
gamed. I can't make that call because an insane person named Vladimir Putin, knowing damn well he wasn't going to win against Ukraine in 3 days like they expected to, has a war that's still going on over a year later. So I didn't
Sure.
think strategically or intelligently Vladimir Putin should have attacked Ukraine, but he did. So I can't say China won't be crazy enough and that Xi may start to lose power and decides to start a conflict with Taiwan to stay in power. I can't say that won't happen.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because I don't know, man. I think that okay, so I have a theory. Okay, I'm actually, funny enough, Gibbs is a neocon and I'm a neoliberal. Okay, I think I'm
What's
pretty
the
sure I'm a
difference?
neoliberal. Well, I fucking vote for base candidates when he votes for shit candidates. Okay.
Horseshoe theory, Kai. They're both the same.
And they're like,
well, no,
they're
we're
almost touching.
horseshoe theory. We're here, sure, right? You know, but that being said, I do believe that in a weird way, global international trade has really benefited conflicts with countries across the entire country. And we can believe that, which again, I don't know, we can look it up and we can have a conversation about it in the future with Taiwan, China. It wouldn't surprise me if China like kind of like postures to their people like, oh yeah, Taiwan, that's our country, right? But at the same time, knowing like, hey, we're really not going to do anything because our economy is doing well. Their economy is starting to collapse, so maybe we do see a change in that. But where basically they're saying like, we have so much good with being okay with the entire countries that matter across the globe with trade and shit, to where we don't even want to have a conflict and we'll just posture and say, no, that's actually just part of China, you know?
Mm.
And there's a joke that says like, why would they ever invade Taiwan? It's already part of China, right? So you know,
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm a big proponent of trade. I do think it really does help global climatic, or what's it called? The word? I don't know. It just helps the globe in general. I think personally, and that's why I'm a neoliberal. All right, Lethe. You're a neoliberal too. Stop fucking lying to yourself, brother.
No,
Yes, you
You're
no,
not?
are.
no,
Stop
no.
What are
fucking
you, Kai?
liar, dude.
Identify
am-
yourself. What are you? Where are
I'm a
you in the
black man
horseshoe?
from
Okay.
I
California.
am a
That's what I am.
socialist Democrat.
Really?
No, you're
Okay.
not. No, you're not.
You
I
actually?
believe in strong social programs and building our country up from the bottom up, making sure the least of us have what they need because a rising tide raises all ships.
Oh man, I gotta.
You even got the naval metaphor in there.
Hey, I have
That's
a question.
great.
I have a question. Let's say that. Hey, let's say that we lose 3% of our jobs, okay, because they get shipped overseas, but it benefits 99% of people with prices of that exact commodity. Let's call it steel. Okay, so let's say that we lose steel workers. 3% of people lose their jobs because 3% of our country are steel workers, but it benefits 99% of people across the entire board. Would you be okay with something like this? Sacrifice
Yeah,
the small to benefit the big.
that would actually be okay, in my opinion, as long as the social programs and other things help to make sure that people are able to get work and live until they're able to sustain themselves. I don't see where that'd be a
Yeah, I feel
problem.
like this is why, because this is like the neoliberal idea, by the way, in the 90s and the 2000s was this exact idea that I'm saying right here. And that's why I feel like I'm like there, like, hey, you know what? Unfortunately, sacrificing an X amount of jobs, which is super shitty to say, but benefits the whole. I mean, remember flat. I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm 32. So remember when TVs were like $1,500 for like a 32-inch, and now they're
Yep.
literally like giving you them for free when you walk out of a Walmart if you spend $200. You know,
Yeah.
so like, I mean, like, this is like, yes, we lost jobs and manufacturing jobs for these types of products, but was it better, right? And I don't know. That's where I think I fall. How long does this go for, Gibbs? By the way, I don't want to like have to jet out of here or anything, but I do have trivia with my
Same.
community, so I don't want to, you know. You're
Oh,
muted, brother.
you're muted.
Yeah, I was about to say something, but you just read my mind. We hit about 2 hours. So yeah, if anybody needs to leave intros, y'all can do outros. Y'all are more than welcome to stay around as well. But anybody needs to leave, feel free to do an outro and shout yourself, tell us where you find you, etc.
Yeah. I guess I'll start. Hi guys, thank you so much for watching. I really loved being here. Thank you so much, Gibbs, for having me. This was a basket of fun. I always love hopping on. Great energy, great fun, great conversations, guys. Thank you all for talking to me. I had a really nice to meet you, Paul. Nice to see you again, Kai and Lauren. So you can find me at Fairy Queen's Cottage on YouTube and at fairy_queen on Twitter. Thank you, guys.
Hi, I'm Lauren De Laguna. You could find me on X, previously known as Twitter, YouTube, Instagram.
Lethe Water Kai here, and I gotta say, I don't understand how we can sit here and act like if a country doesn't resemble all of the sensibilities and ideas of America when we leave that country, that is considered a failure, especially when the means of production and all resources are stripped from that country upon us leaving. How can you expect them to fend for themselves and establish themselves in a way that's going to be beneficial to everyone around the world? But it is what it is. And I'm Lethe Water Kai. You can catch me here or on other platforms such as X. I will dead name Twitter and YouTube.
All right, yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
Rampage Paul. Oh, sorry. You can go.
Go ahead,
Zach.
Paul. I thought you went. My bad. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm Rampage Paul TV. I stream on Twitch and Kick. Again, variety streamer. I'm doing trivia. If you guys want to join that later, we do it every Tuesdays. Fridays, we do Conspiracy Fridays, where we take a random conspiracy. We go deep down to the rabbit hole. And we try to debunk it at the end. By the way, conspiracy theorists. By the way, these people say they're correct all the time. I have found zero evidence of them being correct every time. So if that actually ends up, something you want to do, just follow me on Twitch or on Kick. I appreciate everything. Fairy Queen, again, very nice to meet you as well. Lauren, finally glad to officially meet you. My brother, Lethe.
Can I just say
Gibbs,
we're being
brother.
restreamed on Just Stickle right now, and Just Stickle, I blocked you and I blocked Destiny for a reason. Y'all need to suck my fucking cock. Okay.
Wait,
Bye.
why is he? Wait, what's
What?
up? Just Stickle at Rampage